Hey guys, in this video we're going to be going over the top 5 things that you need to look out for in personal influencers to make sure that they are really high quality and if they'll drive you that crazy ROAS from your ads or not. If you really want to see some decent numbers like this, which was all just from one Instagram story promotion, then you really want to keep an eye out for these 5 things, because the chances are that no matter how good your product is, if you aren't working with high quality influencers that have a strong affinity with their audience, then chances are you will never see that 5, 10, 15 ROAS, which is definitely possible. Okay, so the number one thing that we do when we always vet our influencers to work with is we make sure that they have cross-channel following. And more specifically, if they have a YouTube channel, then that's a great sign for us. Nowadays, it's just super easy to buy Instagram likes and fake engagement, and I've even made videos on how to do it. And those can easily inflate your numbers, but when it comes to having cross-channel following, if someone has a YouTube channel with great engagement and they also have a huge following on Instagram or Snapchat, then it probably shows that they have a super high quality audience because their audience loves them so much that they follow them across 2 different channels just to follow them. And also what it does is it helps you understand if that influencer is great at making video content. And surprisingly, loads of influencers are really not good at making video content. And you wouldn't think so, but when it comes to Instagram, you can easily take a picture and not need to know how to speak in front of camera. But when it comes to YouTube, you can't exactly fake that part. So if someone is great at speaking to the camera on YouTube, then you can tell that they're probably going to do a great job promoting your product on Instagram as well. We've worked with loads of influencers who have huge followings, but for some reason they sound like robots when they speak in front of camera and the promotion always tanks. So if they have a great YouTube channel with great engagement and you can see that they know how to speak in front of camera, then the chances are that your promotion will go really good with them and your content as well will be super high quality. So having a strong YouTube channel presence is always a great sign. Now the second thing that we look for in influencers is making sure that their comment section is super high quality. What you want to check for in the comment section is just making sure that there's super genuine and quality comments in there. You don't want to see loads of emojis or short one-word replies, but rather questions or statements like, "Wow, I love your shoes, where'd you get it from?" or "Wow, I love your dress." Anything like that is along the right lines. And if they aren't posting high quality comments in a comment section, it either means one of 2 things. Number one, if it's just emoji spam, it could simply be bots and the influencer is just trying to inflate their numbers with loads of fake engagement. Or the second thing it could be is that the majority of the audience is quite young and they're really used to posting simple emojis or short answer replies. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but what it does mean is that the audience probably has low purchasing power. So if you're trying to sell a higher ticket item or really anything above $30 or $40, chances are you probably can't do it because the audience is quite young. And even better, when you check the comments section and you can see that the influencer is responding to loads of different comments and actually engaging with their community, then that's usually a really great sign that the audience has a strong connection with the influencer and they'll probably convert really good. The number 3 thing that we look for is demographic alignment. Now influencers can have great engaged community, they can have cross-platform following, they can be great at speaking to the camera, but if your demographics aren't aligned, then that will usually derail your promotion completely. You really want to make sure that your influencer's demographics is closely aligned with your target market. Let's just say that a half of your influencer's audience turns out to be from a third world country. Obviously there's not a lot of purchasing power there and chances are your promotion won't go as good as you thought. What you really want to do is just make sure that the influencers that you work with have a majority following from a tier 1 country. So the US, the UK, Canada, pretty much the whole of Europe, those are tier 1 countries and the majority of the people there are actually capable of purchasing from you. So of course, location alignment is very important, but also gender alignment is very, very important. Now there seems to be loads of male influencers with 90% female audiences and female influencers with 90% male audiences for reasons. And obviously you don't want to be working with female influencers with 90% male audiences if you're selling a female product, because 90% of the audience isn't qualified to buy, and vice versa. What you want to make sure is that you're working with female influencers with majority female audiences, because the majority of them will actually be able to buy your product. Now personally, I've lost thousands of dollars trying to sell female products through a male influencer who has a majority female audience, but it doesn't seem to work. And I'm not saying it is impossible because I have seen other brands got it to work, but typically you want to stay away from it because it's very hard to do so. Now obviously if your product isn't gender specific, so if you can sell it to both males and females, then it doesn't really matter what influencer you work with, but typically I would always make sure that the influencers you work with have the same gender following them. So if it's a female, make sure it's a female audience, and if it's a male, make sure they have a male audience. So make sure you're always asking for these screenshots from your influencers, because these stats are just super important. And if you skip this step, then you're probably going to end up with loads of influencers who you thought would have worked very well because they ticked off all your different boxes, but their audience turns out to be super low quality because they're from a third world country, or maybe there was a gender misalignment in there. Okay, number 4 is the influencer constantly posting stories? Now this kind of ties into point number 1 that I made, but like I said, loads of influencers are just really bad at making video content, and you'll be surprised at how many there are. They're really good at posting pictures, which isn't too hard to do, but when it comes to making videos, they sound like robots in front of camera. And like I said, if you want your promotion to do well, you want to make sure that the stories and the creatives that they make are super high quality. If they sound like robots, they won't be able to pitch your products properly, and your promotion won't do too good. So you want to make sure that they're frequently posting story content, because it shows that they're capable of actually making video content and posting it. And also, people who post stories regularly tend to get higher average story views. So if you're working with a big influencer and they aren't posting story content, then their views when you do post a story ad with them won't be too high. But if someone's constantly posting story content, even if they have a lower following count, they might still get higher story views than the bigger influencer, just because they regularly post content. Now number 5 are other brands working with them. Now on face value, this might not sound like a great thing, but in fact this might be a super valuable thing that you're overlooking. Think about it. If loads of other brands are working with a specific influencer, and actually more specifically if smaller brands or other brands in the e-com niche are working with this influencer multiple times, then there has to be a reason behind doing that. Brands, unless they're super big, won't simply be wasting money or unnecessarily burning money on influencers that aren't high quality and generating them a direct ROI. So if you see loads of other brands, or at least one other brand in the e-commerce space, or just generically, and ideally it's a small company, because like I said, bigger companies can easily spend loads of money on low quality influencers and not realize that they're actually burning money because they're doing things at such a big scale, it's kind of irrelevant to them. But if it's a small company that's working with an influencer multiple times, then that's actually a really good sign that that influencer is actually driving direct ROI. If you think about it, most of these brands are just like you and me. They're small, medium companies. They probably don't have big budgets to waste. But if the influencer is doing good for them and they're generating a direct ROI from that investment, then obviously they'll continue working with that influencer. So if you see many other small brands are working with an influencer, you can probably guess that they're actually generating money for them in some way, shape or form. And that's always a thumbs up when I look at an influencer. But I do want to say, if they are spamming ads 2-3 times a day on their stories, then that isn't a great sign, because if you didn't know, Instagram recently started shadow banning influencers. So basically, shadow banning is essentially when your posts or your stories get significantly less views than they typically do, because Instagram is just put you under a mini ban, let's say. So if an influencer is posting loads of different promotion content, then they might end up getting shadow banned. And whilst they tell you that they're getting 100,000 story views or 10,000 story views, when you actually go and post a promotion with them, they might only get 1,000 story views because they've been shadow banned. And obviously that's not great for you, because you'll get 10 times less the sales that you would have expected in the first place. So my personal opinion on what's a healthy number of advertisements influencers should be posting kind of depends on the size of the influencer. If it's a huge influencer, posting one a day is kind of fine. If it's like 100k followers or a bit less than that, then one every 2-3 days is also fine. But it really depends. As long as they're not spamming ads on their stories and you can tell that the audience is still not going to get pissed off if they see your ad, then that's a great sign, and you probably want to work with those type of influencers. So those are the 5 things that you want to look out for if you want to see those crazy ROAS numbers on your influencer promotions, and maybe that's the reason why your promotions haven't been doing that good so far. So just to summarize for you guys real quick, the 5 things are: number 1, make sure they have cross-channel following. Basically, if they have a YouTube channel and their audience is following them from YouTube to Instagram to Snapchat and all around the place, usually very great sign that the audience is genuinely engaged. If they have great engagement on YouTube as well, also a great sign. Number 2, high quality comments. If they have genuine questions being asked in the comments, hey, I love the dress, where'd you get it from? Stuff like that, great sign. If the influencer is engaging with their community as well, awesome. Number 3, demographic alignment. As long as the influencer has a top tier country as the majority of their following, the UK, the US, basically the whole of Europe, another great sign. And also gender alignment. You want to make sure that a female influencer has a majority female audience, a male influencer has a majority male audience, and not mixed in between. Number 4, frequent story posts. You want to make sure that your influencer is actually capable of pitching a product and they don't sound like a robot or super awkward when they do pitch your product. And number 5, a great sign is that they're posting ads in their story for brands multiple times. Ideally smaller brands, so it shows that they're actually generating ROI for these brands. And ideally they're not spamming 2, 3, 4 ads every single day. So guys, I hope you found this video very helpful. This is actually my first video in over 2 years now, so it's been quite a while, but if you did find it helpful, make sure to drop a like down below and click the subscribe button, and maybe I'll drop more awesome content like this. Any questions, feel free to drop it down in the comment section down below. I'll make sure to respond to them as soon as I can. Also follow me on Instagram, I'll drop my handle over here. Send me a DM if you have any questions and I'll also get back to you. And hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.
Entrepreneur gang, entrepreneur gang, entrepreneur gang, entrepreneur gang. This is for my entrepreneur gang.